come to our final session. So for our final session, let me introduce you Randula Mawaththa, who will be briefing us on version controlling using Git and GitHub. So, and also he is a third-year software engineering undergraduate at SLIIT. So over to you, Randula. Yeah.
Right, thank you, Minoli. Am I audible and can you see my screen?
Yes, I am.
Right. So good evening, everyone. In this section, I'm going to explain about version controlling using Git and GitHub. So my name is Randula Yashasmith Mawaththa. I'm a third-year undergraduate software engineering student in SLIIT. Right. So this would be the content for the session today. So if you have any questions, please post them in the chat window. So what is version control? Assume you have to work on a project where with a team where you have to work separately and get a finalized project in the same place with each member's individual work is combined. So for this process, you need to have a method for the combination. For example, if you are working on a if you are working on a document, you can upload this document file to your OneDrive folder, and several members can open the file and work on the file simultaneously. When you are working with an IT project, each developer has to work separately and should combine their project versions, all of the project versions to get a proper finalized version. You might have came across this problem when you are trying to combine your first year's IWT project. Right. To achieve this specific task, we need to use a version control management system. So as the benefits of using a version control system, the developers of your team can work from anywhere in the world without even physically meeting them. And also, as an important matter, you can see the full history of the project. So if you are doing your project with using a version control system, while your development process is ongoing, if you came across any error that is unable to fix, you can retrieve your project to an earlier stable version. Right. So as we are talking about the version control system, we need to use a version control software to manage the versions of your project. As in this ITP module is going by, we are going to use Git as our version control system. So what does Git do? It basically creates a connection between your remote repository and your local repository. So what is a remote repository? A remote repository is a specific version of your project that has been hosted in the internet. As in this ITP module, you have been provided with a remote repository from GitHub while you are creating your team through GitHub Classroom. You might be familiar with this concept with your first year's OOC project. And other than GitHub, there are more remote repositories like GitLab and Bitbucket. Right. So as I have mentioned earlier, by Git, you can track the changes that you have made to your files, and you can manage the versions between your remote repository and your local repository. And also, since you have a record of what you have been doing to your repositories, if you came across any error that is unsolvable while your project development is ongoing, you can retrieve to a earlier stable version of your project. Right. So with that, let's see how to install Git on your computers and how to use Git and GitHub on your project. Right. So I'll search Git download as in Google, and as the first result comes by, after clicking on that, you can see in here as to download Git for Windows. And if you are using a different kind of an operating system, you can select your relevant operating system and select the version that is required to you. Right. As I have mentioned earlier, you are getting a remote repository for each team after you have created your created your team with GitHub Classroom. The first step, what should you do after getting the remote repositories? You will need to create a development branch on your repositories. So I will go to the branch management section. And as in here, I have already created my development branch. So the purpose of creating the development branch is you need to push all your changes directly to your development branch. And after you have solved all the issues of your project and you are satisfied with the version of your project that is in the development branch, you can clearly push your project to the main branch. Right. So to create a branch to GitHub, I'll explain how to do that. So you need to click on this new branch button. And after that, you can enter the branch name. For now, I'll enter as test. And you can create a branch in here. Right. In this case, I'll delete this branch. Right. As the second step, you need to create a local repository on your PCs. For that, you need to get the Git link from your remote repository from here. And after that, you need to create a local folder to clone your repository. So in here, I have created 3 folders as person1, person2, and person3. Assume these 3 folders are 3 different developers from different places. Right. For first, I'll clone my repository to person1. Right. After you have installed Git on your PCs, you can have this Git bash here menu in your right click menu. And after clicking on that, you will get a CLI of git bash, git, right? And after that, you need to clone your repository for here. The command would be git clone. And after that, you need to paste your git link that you have copied earlier, right? So I'll press enter here. And as you can see, the the local repository has been created here, right? I'll open this repository in my IDE in git bash as well. Right, let me also open the repository in version 2 folder as well. Here, right, perfect. So in this repository, I have created a simple HTML file as to display 2 colors as paragraph text. So in here, the change what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another color. Right. Before you are going to do your changes, you need to create a working branch for yourself. Right. The command would be to create a branch for yourself is git branch. And after that, you need to enter the branch name that you are going to create. A simple information about creating the branch. When you are, as I mentioned earlier, you need to create branches for each workflow that you have been going. For example, if you are just going to develop the login function at once, you need to create a branch for that. And also the other functions like the different CRUD operations. And when you are creating a branch, if you are developing a feature, just like the login function or a register function, you need to enter the branch name as feature slash the small detail of what function are you going to implement on the repository. Just like that, if you are concluding an issue, you need to select as issue and you need to enter the name of the issue. Right. Enter the name of the issue shortly. As in this matter, I'm going to add another color. So I'm going to create the branch as feature slash add the color. Right. After creating the branch, I need to select the working branch to proceed on my development. As in here, it shows as I'm already selected the main branch. Already selected the main branch. So to select to select the branch, I'm going to add the command as git checkout and the branch name that I've been created earlier. Feature add the color. Right. So as you can see, the newly created branch has been selected. So now I can proceed on my workflow. So in here, I'm going to return the color as purple. So my workflow is done here. After completing the workflow, you need to stage your changes before you are committing your changes. Right. To stage the changes, the command would be git space add space dot. Right. After the changes have been staged, I need to commit the changes as git commit -m, and within the double quotations, you need to enter a small description about the change that you did with the workflow. As in this case, I'm going to address added purple color. Right. After that, your changes will be committed into the local repository. And from local repository, you need to push these commits to the remote repository. So for the command for pushing the changes commits is git push origin, and you need to enter the branch name that you have been working on earlier as feature /add a color. Right, as you can see, the newly created branch has been pushed to the remote repository. And after that, as I mentioned earlier, you need to merge your commits to the development branch. So to merge the commits, you need to create a pull request. So I'll go to the GitHub web to display that. And as you can see, when I'm checking my remote repository, there's a section as the newly created branch has some recent pushes. So I'm going to create the pull request in here. And as I am going to create the pull request here, you need to carefully check the target branch and the source branch. So as I was working, I need to commit my changes to the development branch. So I'm setting my development branch as the target branch. So after that, I'm going to create my pull request. Right. After creating the pull request, if there is not any conflicts between the selected two branches, then you can easily merge your pull request. And after that, in this section, it gives us a ribbon as if you want, you can delete the branch. As in my opinion, it's better to delete the branch with the working flow, because or else it would be hard for you to manage the branches in your remote repository. So I'll delete this branch. Now after that, let's see. So I did these changes in the first developers folder. So now I'm going to the second developer folder, and as you can see, the changes have been not yet added to the second folder. So in here, I also need to select the development branch. Check out development, and after that, I need to fetch my development branch, fetch my local development branch with the local with my remote development branch. For that, the command would be git pull, and as you can see, after the fetching process is done, the local repository branch is updated as the remote development branch. Right, just give me a second. Right. So let me share my screen again. Sorry. Right. Right. While I was explaining earlier, I briefly mentioned about the merge conflicts. So what are the merge conflicts? So assume there are two developers who are changing the file, who are changing the same lines of the same file and committing the changes to your remote repository. While trying to make the changes after the commits have been pushed, the merge conflicts can be occurred. In these kinds of scenarios, you need to clear the merge conflicts manually through GitHub and push the changes. So in here, I'll share my screen once again. And in this section, I'm going to open the third folder that I have created earlier. Just it's called right. Let's go here, 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 and yeah, it's here. Right. Perfect. And as you can see, in the line number 11th on the second repository, second local repository, there's a color tag as purple. But in the third repository, you can see there are only two colors added. So I'm going to add a different color on the line number 11 in the third repository. It would be, let's add as, if there is purple, it's going to add as white. Right. So after I have added added the new color, as you can see, I have already created the new branch as issue/conflict. So I'm going to commit my changes as I did earlier by first of all staging the commits. After that, I'm going to commit my changes. Commit sn added white color. Right. After that, I need to push my newly created branch as git push origin. Sorry, origin issue/conflict. Right. So my branch is created. Now let's go to create the pull request. Right. And here I'm going to select my target branch as the development branch. And with that, in here they have in GitHub it mentions as that these two branches cannot be merged automatically, since even if they are giving a warning like this, still you can create the pull request. And after creating the pull request, as you can see, it mentions as that these two branches has conflicts. So basically you manually need to clear these conflicts before you are merging two branches. So when you are clearing the conflicts between two branches, as Chaturikaka mentioned earlier, you need to have a clear idea about the final about the project, as what is the final output should do. As in my case, I need to display all four colors in my HTML file. So I'm going to remove this section. And after in the code, I can click on marks as resolved. And after that, I can commit the merge. And by clearing the conflicts, you can easily merge your working branch to the development branch. Right, so I'll delete this branch as well. Right, so let's go back to the slide. So basically this would be the role of Git and GitHub when you are working on your project. So as it mentioned here, first you need to create the developer branch, and after that you need to clone your repository and create the local branch on your create the local repository on your PCs. And after that, when you start working on the project, you need to create a working branch. And after that, after creating the working branch, you can select the working branch by the relevant command. And after that, you can proceed on your development section. When you are done with your development section, you need to stage your changes. After you have staged your changes, you can push your commits to the commit your changes to the local repository. After you have committed, you can push your changes from the local repository to the remote repository. For the merging process, you can create a pull request between the merging between the target branch and the source branch. And after creating the pull request, if you came across any conflicts between those two branches, you need to clear them manually. And after that, you can commit your merge to the target branch. And after committing your target branch and updating the local remote repository, you need to fetch your local repository from your remote repository. The command would be git pull. And I have added the arrow within these few steps. So in this, I am showing as these few steps will be recursively applied to your project until you are completing your project. Right. So I'll briefly explain about the stash command as well. So assume you are working on a specific feature on your project at once, and you came across an issue that you need to complete, that you need to be resolved before completing the feature that you've been working on. So in these kind of scenarios, if you just proceed to solve the issue and committing the changes, the files that you have been working on will also be committed as well. The feature files, the files that you've been working on now. So in these kind of scenarios, you need to stash the changes that you did earlier, and you need to solve the issue. After solving the issue, you can commit the relevant files to the issue. And after committing and the process is done, you can retrieve the previous workflow that you have been working on. So for this process, the command for stashing the changes would be git stash, and the command for retrieving the previous workflow will be git stash pop. Right. So as in this diagram shows, there are four main areas as working directory, main areas in Git as working directory, staging area, local repository, and remote repository. So as you are creating your repository at first, you are getting your remote repository. And from that remote repository, you need to create your local repository by cloning the remote repository. And after that, you need to create the working directory to process on your workflow. And before starting the workflow, you need to select your working directory. And after that, after your complete development process is done, you can stage your commits you can stage your commits, you can stage your changes by pushing the changes from the working directory to the staging area. And after that, you can commit your changes from the staging area to the local repository. After that, you need to push your changes to the remote repository. After your remote repository is updated and merging the rubrics and the process in there, you need to update your local repository, basically fetch your local repository according to the remote repository. Right. So I'll briefly explain about the student developer pack as well. So as a SLIIT student, GitHub Student Developer Pack is one of the perks that you are getting from the university. By signing up to this GitHub Student Developer Pack, you can have a lot of important features that would be helpful for your project. For example, you can enable GitHub Copilot on your IDEs if you have the Student Developer Pack. Right, I'll explain you how to get the Student Developer Pack for yourself. In the course web section, course web page, there is a section as resources, and in here you can find the GitHub Student Developer Pack section. Right. Before you are applying to the Student Developer Pack, you need to add your IT email address to your sorry. Before you are applying a Student Developer Pack, you need to add your IT email address to your right, there you go. Before you are enabling the GitHub Student Developer Pack for your GitHub profiles, you need to add your IT email address to your accounts, and after that, the IT email address will be validated for your profiles. And as you can see, you need to select the student benefits. And as in my case, I have added my email address, and as if you have added your email address and trying to get the student developer pack, in here you can see as your email address will be validated. And after that, you need to fill the relevant section and click on continue. And after that, you need to upload an image of your SLIIT ID to complete your verification process. Right. So with that, I'll conclude my session. So please feel free to watch any previous sessions on GitHub in the MS Club YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, please post them in the chat window. And also, if you have any questions regarding to this session with your project is ongoing, you can contact me through Teams. And I am wishing you all the best for this semester. And thank you. Thank you, and good night, everyone. Over to you, Vinodi.
Right. Thank you, Randula.